How many times have we waited for healing to arrive like a bolt of lightning? A massive change we notice instantly, like an overwhelming relief or a peace that engulfs everything. But the reality is quite different. Emotional healing rarely works in such a dramatic way. In fact, it usually comes quietly, almost hidden, like a gentle breeze after a heavy rain. And then, when we least expect it, something inside begins to shift. We start saying no in situations where we always said yes. We begin to distance ourselves from things that hurt us. And most importantly, we finally stop to listen to what our body and soul have been screaming at us for so long, but which we stubbornly ignored. In this video, we'll uncover the 10 secret signs that you're truly healing, even when you still feel completely lost. The truth is, emotional healing isn't like flipping a switch and being done with it. It's more like a road, a process of reconnecting with who you really are, freeing yourself from the scars of the past, and rediscovering the person who's always been inside you, but was forgotten. This journey usually begins the moment the pain becomes impossible to ignore. Join us in the next few minutes as we explore the 10 signs. 1. Irritation with old patterns. One of the first signs of healing is when you start feeling annoyed by the same old behaviors. You used to live on autopilot, reacting the same way, getting into the same messes, surrounding yourself with the same kinds of people, and it all seemed completely normal. But now, something within you rebels. You simply can't stand being who you've always been. This disconnection from old habits doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're awakening. It's life showing you that the old version of yourself no longer works. You're not losing yourself, you're being reborn. 2. Craving solitude. Another strong sign is when you start seeking solitude, not out of sadness, but because you need it. Silence becomes a necessity, and being alone feels good. This isn't depression, it's deep reflection. It's as if your nervous system is saying, hold on, let's recalibrate, let's rediscover ourselves, because for years you were everything to everyone except yourself. Now, finally, you're starting to choose yourself, and that's pure healing. 3. Sudden anger. You might start feeling anger about things you used to swallow silently. Manipulative people, suffocating environments, conversations that belittled you. Suddenly, that anger erupts, but it's not a problem. It's a wake-up call. Anger is often self-love coming to life. It's your body shouting, I deserve better. Feeling anger can be uncomfortable, but it's also essential. It's the first step towards setting healthy boundaries. 4. Unexplained tears. Sometimes you start crying out of nowhere, not for any specific reason, just a tightness in your chest and tears that flow. This is your unconscious releasing traumas buried for years. Every tear dissolves a memory. Every sob releases a weight. And though it may seem fragile, this moment is one of the most powerful in your healing journey because it represents surrender, a sign that you've stopped resisting. 5. Restless nights. One night, you wake up in the middle of the night. Heart racing, thoughts looping, a sense of emptiness. Most people fear this moment, but it can also be a sign. As healing approaches, dreams become more vivid, and your unconscious begins processing memories, fears, and emotions long buried. Your physical, emotional, and spiritual selves are realigning. That's why sleep becomes restless, nights feel deeper, and days more challenging. But all of this is part of the cleansing, the restart. 6. Transformative exhaustion. Healing doesn't begin with energy. It starts with weakness, with a paralyzing exhaustion. You feel drained from trying to please others, tired of carrying burdens that aren't yours. And in that exhaustion, something magical happens. You start letting go of what doesn't belong to you. This release, even if small, is a miracle. It's your body saying enough, your soul asking for lightness. It's not laziness, it's survival. It's healing in its early stages taking shape. 7. Compassion for your past self. Another subtle sign of healing is the emergence of compassion for who you used to be. You used to judge and hate yourself for past mistakes, but now you start looking at that old self with tenderness. You realize that version of you did the best they could with the tools they had. This loving perspective is a turning point. It's when the inner critic begins to give way to the inner caregiver. And in that space, self-acceptance is born. 8. Losing the need to impress. You know you're healing when you start losing the need to impress others. Before, everything you did was aimed at gaining acceptance. Now, you realize you don't need to justify yourself or explain your choices. Quietly, you start prioritizing what nourishes you, not what validates you. This is emotional maturity, and it's also healing. 9. Childhood memories resurfacing. Healing also manifests when you start recalling childhood moments with greater clarity. Memories that were dormant return. Sometimes they hurt, sometimes they comfort, but this process is essential. Many of our deepest wounds were formed in childhood, and revisiting these memories is part of reprogramming. It's like returning to the source to understand what needs to be restored. Not to suffer again, but to rebuild with awareness the parts of you that were forgotten. 10. Saying no without guilt. Another powerful sign. You start saying no without guilt. This may seem simple, but for those who spend a lifetime pleasing others, it's revolutionary. Saying no is one of the deepest acts of self-love. It's prioritizing yourself. Every time you say no to what hurts you, you're saying yes to your healing. You're freeing yourself from the need to please and starting to live your truth. Other important signs. You also notice you're changing when you naturally start distancing yourself from certain friendships or environments. There are no fights or long explanations, just a gentle pulling away because your energy has shifted and places that once seemed normal now drain you. This is a sign of growth, of awareness, of healing. And little by little, you start to notice something extraordinary. You no longer react the way you used to. That explosion of anger or submissive silence is no longer your only option. A space emerges between the trigger and your response. And in that space, you choose consciously with self-care. This small difference between reacting and responding is a clear sign that healing is blossoming within you. You may not notice it at first glance, but your dreams and goals change. Things that once seemed essential now feel unnecessary. What used to motivate you no longer moves you. This can feel confusing, but it's actually liberating because you're moving away from living to meet others' expectations and starting to live your truth. You're remembering who you really are. Finally, you begin to experience moments of peace. Not constant peace, but flashes, brief moments where everything quiets down, where there's no rush, no pressure, just presence. These moments are seeds of a new life sprouting within you. And this life, still fragile, still silent, is the beginning of your healing. Additional signs of healing. You know you're healing when you start questioning everything you once believed to be true about yourself. That inner voice that said, "You're not good enough, you're hard to love, you deserve to be abandoned," begins to lose its power. Not because it's gone, but because you're starting to see where it came from. You realize many of these beliefs were inherited from traumas, rejections, or cruel words spoken by wounded people. And little by little, you begin to build a new narrative about who you are, one with room for kindness, worthiness, and love. That's healing. Another sign few recognize. You start feeling physical discomfort in environments that don't respect you emotionally. Your body reacts. Headaches, chest tightness, insomnia. It's as if your body is shouting what your mind took years to understand. This place isn't safe. This isn't weakness, it's bodily wisdom. Your body knows before your mind. And respecting these signals is a fundamental part of the healing journey. You also notice you're healing when you seek fewer external distractions. Before, pain pushed you toward addictions, excessive social media, emotional eating, or empty relationships. But now, even slowly, you start to tolerate silence to be able to stay with yourself. For many, this is a quiet victory because it's in silence that the soul speaks, and in stillness that the pieces start coming together. Healing progresses when you start to forgive, not out of kindness, but for freedom. This doesn't mean forgetting or minimizing what was done to you. It means you no longer want to carry the weight of hatred, choosing to release the poison that's been harming you from within. Forgiving is in the best sense, a selfish act. It's saying, I deserve peace, and that choice is one of the most liberating anyone can make. You also notice signs of healing when, even in the face of pain, you start to feel hope. Not a fanciful hope, but a quiet confidence that better days will come, that this phase will pass, that there's light on the other side. This faith, even if small, is one of the most powerful fuels in the healing process because it keeps you going, helps you get up after falling, and reminds you, you've survived so much already, you won't stop now. You heal when you start accepting your scars as part of who you are, not something to hide. Scars tell stories. They're maps of battles won, witnesses to your courage. And when you start honoring them, something inside you shifts. Shame gives way to pride, and you begin to see beauty even in the darkest parts of your story. Another subtle but powerful sign, you start attracting different people. Before, you connected with those who reinforced your wounds. Now, without even realizing it, you begin to connect with people who see you, hear you, and respect you. As Gabor Mate says, we don't attract what we want. We attract who we are. As you heal, your energy shifts, your choices change, and that transforms your relational reality. You also heal when you learn to pause, to say not today, to rest without guilt, to respect your own limits. This may seem simple, but for those who've lived under constant pressure, learning to stop is a revolutionary act of self-respect and trust in life. Another milestone, you lose the fear of being alone. Solitude stops being a punishment and becomes a sacred space. You learn to keep yourself company, to listen to your thoughts without panic, to find peace in silence. This changes everything because someone who is content alone chooses better relationships and doesn't settle for emotional crumbs. And finally, you realize you're healing when you feel the desire to start over. Not because life is perfect, but because you've become stronger, more whole, and now know that no matter what happens, you'll take care of yourself, respect yourself, and embrace yourself. This desire to begin again isn't an impulse. It's a sign that the cycle of pain is closing and the cycle of life is restarting. Conclusion: emotional healing is quiet, slow, and often invisible to those on the outside. But within you, a true rebirth is happening. Every boundary you set, every time you say enough, every tear that releases an old trauma, every new habit, every conscious choice, all of this is healing. Even when it feels like you're stuck, even when it seems nothing has changed, the invisible is working in your favor. You don't need to be perfect to be healing, nor do you need to feel complete all the time. Healing is a dance between progress and setbacks, between good days and tough ones, and all of it is part of the process. Every fall teaches you something. Every mistake reveals a path. What matters isn't avoiding pain, but learning to handle it with more maturity, more compassion, and less guilt. The great truth is, you are not your pain. You are the one who survived it, the one learning to live despite it, and that makes you extraordinary, human, and worthy of love, respect, and freedom. Your story isn't a prison, it's fertile ground, and every tear shed today can be the seed of a lighter, more conscious, more authentic tomorrow. Moral of the story: true healing isn't the absence of pain, but the presence of awareness. When you stop running, you start healing. When you embrace yourself, you start transforming. When you realize you deserve more, you begin building a new reality. And that reality starts within you. Final reflection. Maybe you're healing right now and haven't even noticed. Maybe the signs are there, subtle, silent, but present. And if you've made it this far, if these words resonated with you, then know this: your healing has already begun, and you're not alone. Now tell me, where are you in your healing journey? Have you recognized any of these signs in yourself? Share in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone needs to read today. And, of course, if this video touched your heart, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to keep receiving content that awakens, heals, and transforms. Until the next video,